Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a brand new episode. So as you can see just behind me here, I've got myself one of the diesel turbo cleaning kits, and what we're going to do, we're going to go through that, open the box up, have a look at what's included. We're going to show you how to use the kit, and also I can explain a bit around the reason as to why I've bought it and why I'm going to give that a try on this Volkswagen Crafter van that I've got, and then hopefully, all being well, that may well resolve the issue that we've got. But with that being said, I'll flip the camera around, explain what I've been working on, and then we can take it from there. Just to make it easier to show you what I've been working on, what I'm firstly going to do is just pop the airbox out of the way. So I've just got these two little rubber sort of, well, little plastic feet that sit in these little rubbers here. I'm going to take that pipe out of the way, undo these little connections, pop off the oil filler cap, undo that little Jubilee clip there, and that will allow me to pull that right out of the way. I'm not forgetting the positive battery connector there as well, so that will allow me to get that right out of the way, and then hopefully you should be able to have a better look in the engine bay. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, we can look at what we've been testing so far and as to why we've decided to purchase that kit. Okay, we've now just popped that out of the way, but just before I go into explaining a bit about what I've been testing, I'll just give you a bit of a backstory as to how we've got here. So basically what I'm finding is the issue is that when I'm using the van and going up an incline, sort of quite a steady long incline, I'll be in sort of like maybe 5th or 6th gear, and after a while it tends to just, the power shuts off, it goes into limp mode. I'm not getting any engine lights or glow plug lights on the dashboard, but I am getting a fault code which, looking online, seems to be quite a well-known fault code within the VAG. So I believe, I haven't got the scanner on there now, but I believe it's P2563, which is basically something to do with the turbo range / performance on this. So what I've started by doing, I did have a bit of a look on the internet, just to get a bit of an idea of, you know, some of the common issues and some of the things that people are noticing. And looking online, it does seem to be quite a busy vacuum system on this. So, and the turbo actuator is controlled partly by electronics and then partly by vacuum, which I will remove this pipe just so you can see a bit easier when I clean the turbo. But basically you've got it here, so you've got your vacuum line there, and then you've got the electric part of it here, which is going off, obviously sending information to the ECU as to the position of the actuator. And then, as I mentioned, that's controlled through vacuum. So the vacuum for that originates from the vacuum pump itself. So you've got the vacuum pump right down the back of the engine, and you've got the line that runs along here and down here. You've then got a one-way valve there. The vacuum system then goes off into the cam cover here, and there's sort of a reservoir in here. So initially what I've done is I've tested the vacuum performance up to here, and we're getting good vacuum coming from the vacuum pump. I've then tested the one-way valve here just to make sure that the one-way valve is working and that, you know, it's not failed and you can blow air through both sides. And then I've also checked just to make sure that the cam cover reservoir holds a vacuum as well. So just tucking that out of the way, disconnected that T-piece there, pulled a vacuum on there, just using my little vacuum gauge that I've got, and that held a vacuum there. We've then tested the vacuum down these lines here, which go to what's called the N75 valve, which is just tucked down. It's the bottom one there with the little white, with the little white label on it. So I've checked the vacuum down to there. I've also taken that valve off and tested that valve, and that seems to be okay. I seem to also be getting okay voltage and earth to that. And then as we follow up to the vacuum actuator itself, I seem to be getting a good reference voltage from there, a good ground, and yeah, when we've got it in the sort of off position, as it were, we seem to be getting 0.5 of a volt, which I think is what we're meant to be looking for. And then with it sort of fully open, we're then getting the 4.5 when we're back probing this connector here. But when I do pull a vacuum on the turbo itself, what I have noticed is that we are getting smooth operation for some of it, but then towards probably, I don't know, a bit further than half, 3/4 and then onwards, we do get you can feel, if you're pulling a vacuum here and you've got your hand or a finger on the actuator rod, you can feel it sort of, it's quite notchy as it comes up through there. And I've also held a vacuum on that just to make sure that that doesn't leak away. So yeah, what we're going to look at doing, as I mentioned, is using this turbo diesel cleaner kit that we've got here, so suitable for variable vane turbos. It does seem to be that the VAGs are quite common for getting sticking vanes within the turbo system. Actually mentions on the top of this about 40N75 valve and the question mark against it. So yeah, we've got a few of those bits there that you can see that they suggest on the kit. So if I flip that round, there's 3 parts to it. So you've got powerful cleaner, which you start off with, which is here, sorry. So yeah, you've got powerful cleaner there. You've then got the to basically clean out that cleaner afterwards, and then you've got the diesel treatment, which you're putting into the fuel filter. So we'll unbox that kit in a second and have a bit of a closer look at that. But what we're going to do is, as I mentioned, whip that pipe out the way. We'll undo this clamp here. In the kit there's also a gasket or some paper that you use as a gasket to blank off once this the DPF and the flexi are out the way, and this clamp is off. We'll be able to blank that off and then use that clamp to hold that card that we've got there. So yeah, what we'll do now is we'll just jump to the unboxing of the kit and have a quick look at that. Okay, so this is what comes in the box itself. Sorry if I was swinging my finger around a moment ago, maybe pointing at the wrong bits at any one time. But so we've got part 1. So this is the actual sort of dissolves all the contaminants and breaks down all of the carbon that's built up in the vanes. And then, so what this basically recommends is, firstly, you use this card here, which has got a variation of sizes on there, and you cut that to fit onto the back of the exhaust part of the turbo there, which we saw, and then we'll use that clamp to hold that in place. And then it recommends that at the top of it, which is obviously the other way round, but at the top of it, it's got these little bits here, which you can then cut a little, just pierce a little hole in, and you're going to be using this part here, which goes on to can number 1. And firstly, what you're going to do is spray in 25% of this part 1. You then leave that for 10 minutes. Then you spray the remainder of that can in there, and you leave that for 45 minutes. What I am also going to do is I'm going to use the vacuum tool to actuate the basically to pull up the turbo rod, and that will move the vanes around during the cleaning process. So once you've finished and your 45 minutes is up with that, you can then put a suitable sort of container or drain system underneath, so that you can basically undo the clamp and take that out the way, and then that will allow all of product number 1 to drain out. You then use product number 2 to then rinse out as much of that as possible and get that all out the way. And then you've got the diesel treatment and the injector cleaner, which goes into the filter. And what I'll probably do is, while this one's cooking for the 45 minutes, I can pop the filter off from underneath the van, drain some of the diesel out and pop that in there. So first things first, I'm going to undo that clamp, get that exhaust out of the way, and then I will look at cutting this to size. What I did also just forget to put down here is you get some gloves as well. Not this particular ones, but I'll just grab them. You just get a pair of gloves as well, and all the instructions are, as I say, they're all on the box, so you can have a good look at those and just make sure that the kit is suitable for what you want and what you need, and then go through that. So what I'm going to do first, as I mentioned, just for the simplicity of the video and a bit better access, is I'm just going to pop off the turbo intake pipe. Then we've got the crankcase breather pipe here as well, which, all being well, I can undo. So yeah, that just unclips, and we just slowly work this off. One thing it does recommend in the kit as well, and in the instructions, is to just check the turbo impeller movement and just check to make sure that that's nice and smooth. So yeah, we seem to be okay there. I'm just going to get a bit of cloth or rag or something just to pop in the front of the turbo there. So hopefully just to give you a bit better view there, as I say, that pipe just connects on there, and I'm just going to pop a bit of paper towel just in the front there like that. And then behind this actuator here, I'm just going to undo this clamp, which is a little 5mm Allen key. Just got myself a little pry bar. We just work that clamp off. So we now just work that clamp off, and then what that allows us to do is just pull that section of exhaust out of the way. So I'm just going to pop that over like that. And then I'll grab the card that we need. So we now got the card that we need. It's quite good, this one, because it's got all the little measurements on there. So you can either measure it. What I did find is that potentially what you could do is use the back side of it, and you could, if you wanted to, just put it over the exhaust like so, or the back of the turbo, sorry, hold it on like that, and then if it's dirty enough, you see there, you start to get an imprint, and then that'll give you an idea if you cut it a bit bigger than that, because obviously that's the hole there, and then you've got the flange of the exhaust itself. Or either way, you can just do it with the exhaust. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll grab a tape measure quickly, just measure the diameter of that, and then we can cut this card out. I've now just cut that out, and I've just poked a hole in the back there as well, so I know that that needs to sit at the top here, at the higher part, and then we'll just pop that on and in place. So I just want to check that this part of the nozzle goes into that hole that we made, and we're just going to spray this first slot in. Oh, I can hear it having a right old bubble away. Now what I'm going to do, just check the time, then leave that for 10 minutes. While I'm doing that, I am just going to make myself, although I've got various oil drainers and bits and pieces, I think that's going to go too far down, and then when we do drain and clean it all out, that'll go all over the engine mount and the steering rack. So what I might do is just cut up an old oil, used oil can that I've got, and I might be able to position that nicely under the turbo. So I'll give myself 10 minutes to do that, which is generous, and then yeah, I'll put a timer on and we'll come back, and then we can spray the remainder of this stuff in there. Right, it's now been 10 minutes, so we've put the first part in, as you saw a moment ago. I've cut open a oil can there, just so when I do finally clean all of this out, I've got somewhere for all of that fluid and stuff to drain into. Not quite sure how I'm going to get it out, because obviously I've wedged it in there without spilling all the cleaning fluid everywhere, but we'll work that out in a minute, or in a bit. I've also connected up the vacuum, the little vacuum tool as well, because as I mentioned, or if I haven't, throughout this stage of the cleaning, it just recommends moving the actuator on a number of occasions, just to agitate and try and get that moving freely. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll continue on and use the remainder in this can to fill up the back of the turbo there. Right, okay, that can's all empty now. What we'll do, put the timer back on, leave that for 45 minutes, then we can jump underneath the van and get that fuel filter off. Okay, off we go underneath. I can't remember exactly what I need to take that filter off on this one. It's been a couple of months since I changed it, so I think, looking at that briefly, it's just got a couple of clips for the pipe work, and then you just push it up. It's held in just by some plastic clips on the filter housing itself, and then you just, by the looks of things, you just push it up off of the little holder. So we'll grab that and pull that out from under the van, hopefully, so you can see it, get a bit of an idea as to what we're looking at. I don't know why they couldn't have put this in the engine bay, but what do we know, eh? Oh. So there you have it. There's the fuel filter itself. So what we're going to do is, potentially what we could do is just undo the water drain here, put something on these two pipes here, drain a bit out and then fill it back up with the cleaner that we've got. We've just grabbed another oil bucket, so we've got one under the van just in case anything comes out the lines, and then one for doing this. You can never have enough oil buckets, so I've just put a couple of the little bungs on the end of the filter here, which you generally tend to get either with these filters or when you're changing other fuel filters. So we're just going to take this off. Sometimes they have water sensors, or these are for drains as well. So we're just going to pull that out, and then we'll go ahead and replace it with that, then screw that back on, pop that back on the van, or a back on the van underneath. I thought I'd bring you with me this time, just in case you got jealous that I was leaving you out. So there's a fuel filter there. Just plugged all the pipes back in. We've put it back on the little bits that hold it on. And now all I'm going to do is just give the area a good wipe down. Just make sure that we haven't left any diesel anywhere. Make sure that's all nice and clean, and then we can jump back out and see how we're getting on up the top. Fuel filter's all now finished. We've put the cleaner in there and we've popped that back on. I can take this can out of the way, and then we can have a quick go with the vacuum tool and just work that back and forth a few times. So that's now the first part of the process done. We've waited the 10 minutes initially with 25% in there. We've put the full amount of cleaner in there, and we've now waited 45 minutes, and we've been working the actuator up and down. We can now look at popping that back in. So we'll wait 5 minutes or so for that, and then what we will do, as it says, we'll take the clamp off, take the turbo card out of the way, clean it with the last remaining little bit that we've got. Just grab that gasket back there, pop that back on there. That's a 5 minutes up on the second part. Now we can undo the clamp, take that clamp right off for a minute and that card, and then we'll use the remaining amount that we left just in the can here. I'm just using the nozzle here to work it around, just spray out. So we've now fully used that can. It's just going to be a case now of putting it all back together. So just removing the oil catch tray that we had made, cutting that cable tie off, putting the exhaust flange gasket back on, then the clamp, putting all this back together. Then we need to reset the fault codes in the engine, and we can start it up and see how it runs. So we've now finished all the cleaning on the van. All of the turbo and everything is now all back together. All of the pipe work down there is all sorted. All of the airbox and everything like that is all sorted and done. We've also been in, as you saw just a moment ago, read all of the fault codes in the engine control unit, and we've also deleted those now. But if you were paying attention, we did have 4 glow plug fault codes. And the reason we had those 4 glow plug fault codes is because I went ahead and popped the glow plugs out of the van and just turned the engine over using the starter motor. I'm really glad that I went ahead and did that, because as the thumbnail suggests, we could have quite easily killed it had we not. So I think what had happened is some of the cleaning fluid had leaked down through the back of the turbo, down through the manifold, through the exhaust valves, and then into the actual cylinders of the engine itself, because when we turned it over, we had quite a lot of fluid there. So had we not done that, we probably would have been making another video on how to repair the engine on this. So yeah, it was well worthwhile popping those out, turning it over, just making sure that as much of that fluid was out as possible, so we didn't end up hydrolocking the engine. We put it all back together, and now we've got it all running. So it's just going to be a case of putting a few miles on it and seeing how we get on. So I really hope that you found that video useful, and I really hope that that helps you should you need it. So if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.